A few months ago, as a follow-up to a physical, I had an echocardiogram. Maybe some of you have had that before. Turned out fine. But I went to the office of the specialist, and a lab technician asked me to take off my shirt, and then I had this gel slathered all over me, and then I got the little receptor. And she placed it over my heart, and then came the sound. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And the technician said, "That's the sound that keeps you alive." Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And it got me thinking, that sound has been going since 1975, without a break. No vacation days, no time off, not even a moment to rest. Non-stop. And then that got me thinking about Mary Carnabucci, whose heart has been doing that since 1917, without a break. It shows that our bodies know how to persevere. Our bodies have endurance. There are parts of us that never sleep, that never stop. So Jesus says, we need to figure out how to translate that quality that our bodies have into our souls. Because we need to have that kind of endurance for our spiritual crises too. The first reading is awesome. Such a clear story. This battle between the Israelites and the Amalekites. And how crazy is it that in order for the Israelites to prevail, Moses has to keep his arms up like this over the battle. For we don't know how long, but certainly hours, maybe days. And if his arms rest for a moment, his people are slaughtered. So the stakes are high. He has to figure out a way to do it. And there are two details in this story that are very important. One is that his friends roll over a big rock for him to sit on. And the other is that then they stepped in and helped him too. The two things that we need in order to endure are a rock of some sort of support, and friends to go through the journey with. We can't do it without those two things. First, the rock. A few years ago, when I was living in Oneonta, I got to talk to quite a few people in that community about a legend who used to be the principal of the school there. Her name was Sister Angeline, and she was an incredible go-getter. But she had an extra struggle in her work because she had chronic fatigue syndrome. So her sleep did not refresh her at all, and she really struggled. But she was known as this dynamo, as this energetic person. I got to hear a story firsthand from a reporter who had interviewed her at some point about something going on in the school. And in the middle of the interview, the reporter stopped and said, "Sister, there seems to be something stuck to your eyelid. Your eyelashes are stuck. Would you like me to help you?" And Sister said, No, it's all right. It turned out that she put Scotch tape on her eyelids to keep them open. Because she couldn't stay awake. But she figured out a way. She figured out something she could turn to because she was going to persevere. She had a job to do, and nothing was going to stop her from doing it. There is some new research on stroke victims that reveals that our bodies have been doing this all along. Most of us have a loved one in our family who has suffered a stroke. It's not an uncommon thing. And then there's this miracle that can sometimes happen where you take the person to a rehabilitation program and they get so much of what they lost back. Well, the scientists have been doing some studies on what is happening inside of them when that happens. And it turns out that their brains are willing to convert parts of the brain that were used for one job into another job, another role, just out of survival. It's an adaptation that our brains can do. It's called compensatory recruitment. So incredibly, if we have a stroke in the part of our brain that we use to think, our brain might recruit the part of our brain that's used for hearing to start thinking for us. Our brain might use the part of our mind that we use to make decisions in order to move our arm. That actually happens. We're learning. Our brain will recruit another part to do this job that the other disabled part can't do. So the trick is, we need to figure out how to do that, not only for physical issues, but for spiritual too. Besides the rock that Moses had, Moses also had Aaron and Hur, two friends that were there to help him. And the way that they helped is just so remarkable. Can you imagine having your arms up for hours? How about just half an hour like this? Can you imagine half an hour? Can you imagine the burning that you would feel? Can you imagine the trembling that started to happen? And so how is he going to do it? One friend took one arm, and the other friend took the other. They took the pressure off, and they held his arms up. We need friends to do that for us. Because there's a spiritual law that says when we share something with someone else, if it's a joy that we share, it becomes twice the joy. But if what we share with someone else is a burden, paradoxically, it's the opposite. A burden shared with someone else is half the burden. Sharing joy multiplies it. Sharing a burden divides it. The thing is, we have friends from lots of different parts of our life. A lot of us have friends from a hobby that we might have. So you have a fishing buddy, or a sewing friend, or a shopping friend. But those aren't the friends that are probably likely to get you through a spiritual crisis. We have friends that live around us, our neighbors, the people that we raised our kids with. And those are great friendships too. But it's not likely that those are going to be the thing that we can turn to in a crisis. We need friends with faith. We need to have friends who have faith. It's an essential thing for all of us because they are the ones that we will have when the curveball is thrown at us, when we have something to do in our spiritual life that feels impossible. Everybody knows that in our country now, 1 in every 2 marriages ends in divorce. 1 in 2. That's been true for a long time now. But a research organization decided to study couples that have faith and whose relationships started from their faith. And the numbers changed dramatically then. They studied couples that had 3 things in common. They went to church together weekly, they prayed together regularly, and they did some sort of service together, reached out to others in some way. Couples that did that did not have the same divorce rate. The divorce rate for those couples was 1 in 50. 1 in 50. So we need others in our lives. And if you have a spouse with faith that can be that one for you, what a gift. Your Aaron and Hur are right there. So this week we are being invited to check in with ourselves, to see how much persistence we have. How much perseverance do we have in facing the challenges of life? Do we have the persistence of that widow? Could you name the rock that's in your life that you turn to when you're facing something impossible? If you wound up getting terrible news about something today, what would be the rock that you would turn to? Who would be your friends? Who would be your Aaron or your Hur? Who would be there to hold you up when you just couldn't take it anymore, when you were trembling, when you were burning? Another important question is, who do we do that for? Who are the people that we support that can turn to us? We're their first or second or maybe third phone call. Do we play that role in someone's life? The word persistence is a great one, and I think perseverance is even better. But my favorite is tenacity. Tenacity. I looked that word up because I've always loved the sound of it. It means to hold on, refusing to let go. That's what we need. We need tenacity. Because that's what Jesus holds up today. The widow had tenacity. She was not going to let go. And that's what we need too. Because the next time we get to the end of our rope, we need to figure out how to tie a knot in it and hold on.